Hi and welcome to this section of the playlist. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to get all the comments that are associated with one particular blog post and display them in the article detail page. So the next thing that we are going to want to do is go to the views.py file in our app folder. Now, once we get there, we're going to need to write a query set. Now, this query set is essentially we're going to need to write a query. So this query is going to return a query set that is going to help us grab every comment that is associated with whatever blog post we are viewing. Now, we're going to be able to get that because each comment is related to each blog post using a foreign key. If we check the models.py file, we can see a field named post name in the comment model, and it is a foreign key of the post model. So what that means is that is what connects the comment model and the post model. So we're now going to head over to our views.py file and write a query that is going to return this data for us. So we'll create a variable and name it get all comments, and we equate that to comments.object.filter. Now we are saying .filter because obviously there are going to be a whole lot of comments in database. So we don't just want all the comments to be returned. We want to return only a specific set of comments. Now this specific set of comments are going to be related to whatever blog post we are currently viewing in the article detail page. So what we now need to say is we now need to go to models.py and see that the field that connects it is product name. That is post name rather, that is the field that connects the comment and the post model together, is called post name. So what we now simply do is we now equate post name equal to get post. Now we're equating post name equal to get post because we need to provide the post name field an instance of a post model. If we just pass in the name of the blog, it won't work. So we need to provide it an instance of a post model. So that is why we are passing in gets post. Now the next thing we need to do is return this query set as a context dictionary so that we'll be able to make use of this data in our front end. So once we pass this in, we'll be able to make use of this data and represent each of the comments in the front end. So once we've done that, we'll just head over to our article.html file. So before doing that, I just want to tell you that there are currently dummy comments there. So we're going to replace that with the raw comments now. So head over to your article.html file. So let's just clear this extra comments as we only need one comment so that we can write a for loop. So go ahead and clear the second comment and just leave the first one. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to write a for loop that is going to loop through that data that we're sending from. It's going to loop through comments, the query set that we're sending from the views. So what we're now going to say is for I in comments, because we're trying to loop through that data and represent it in the front end. So we'll say for I in comments, and then immediately after that we need to end our for loop. So we are going to say end for. So we'll say end for. So the next thing we now need to do is we now need to start representing each of these data in the front end. Now, the first thing that we need to replace is the name of the person that is commenting. If we go to the models.py file, you will take note that there is a field called name. Now, this field is responsible for storing the name of whoever is commenting. So I'm going to replace this dummy name with I.name because we're trying to tell Django, okay, look through this database, and for every comment you look through, replace it with the name of for every comment you look through, for every comment you look through, grab that data and represent it in this div. So the next thing we need to say is I.body because we want to grab the body of whatever the person has said. Now after doing that, what we need to do is save our code and refresh. And when we refresh, you can see that all the comments that we had already created earlier are now being displayed. And if we go to the admin dashboard and check the comments, you are going to see that the exact comments in the dashboard are the comments that are displayed in the front end. So that is how to basically retrieve data from a database and display in the front end. So the next thing we now need to do is we need to take note of how many comments that are how many comments that this blog has. So I made a mistake earlier. I'm going to put in the dummy number. So when we check that again, we can see that every blog post currently has a dummy number of 5 comments, but we're going to change that. We need to put in the exact number of comments that every blog post has. So the next thing is we go to the views.py file, and then what we need to do is write a for loop. So we're going to write a for loop that is essentially going to loop through this query set, and then for every item in that query set is going to increment a certain number by 1. So the first thing we need to do is create a variable, and when we're going to create a variable that we're going to equate to 0. So we're going to name the variable number of comments, and then we equate that to 0. The next thing that we do is we're now going to write a for loop, and then we're going to say for I in get all comments. So after saying for I in get all comments, we're now going to say number of comments plus equal to 1. Plus equal to 1 means plus 1. So what we're simply doing here is that as I is looping through every single item in this query set, so for every item in this query set, it's going to increment the number of comments variable by 1. So that way we're able to get the number of comments that are in the database, the number of comments associated with this blog that are in the database. So what we now need to do is we need to return this value as a query set, as a context dictionary rather, so that it can be represented in the front end. So we do that by creating a new context dictionary item. I will name that number of comments, and when we equate that to the number of comments variable, so say number of comments. And once you do that, just save it, go to the article detail page, and then replace the 5 with 2 curly brackets, and in 2 curly brackets I want you to write number of comments. Now once you've done that, just save your code, go back to the browser and refresh. Now once you refresh, you are going to see the number has changed to the exact number of comments that this blog post has. You can see it has 3 comments. So that is basically what we're going to be talking about in this video. So you have learned how to retrieve data from database and display in front end. So let's just try to test out our code once more. And when we add a new post, I will scroll down, a new comment rather, you can see the number of comments has incremented, it has increased. So thank you for watching this video, guys. If you like seeing content like this, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe.